So Google search, just type in Neuralink, Elon Musk, human trials. So they just launched human trials, and Elon Musk, okay, you all know Harari, Klaus Schwab, they want to, go Neuralink, they're wanting to connect brains to computers, and this is the whole deal right here. And again, if you can watch the videos and see all the patents, and each speaker on this stage has a different area, kind of a silo of information where they really know a lot about, that's what they do. And our next presenter is a guy who knows more about transhumanism than almost anybody on the planet, to the point that I'm almost scared when I speak to him, because he always tells me something crazy that, how many of you heard this and you just thought, that's crazy, what I just told you, that's crazy? He shares stuff and I go, oh, you're sick. And I go, how many of you get mad at the messenger sometimes? You're just like, oh, come on, the accountant is sick. So I find myself getting mad at our next presenter all the time because he shares facts, which sometimes I don't like, which are tough, but he's here to expose the corruption of the transhumanism agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand to your feet and greet the serious documentary filmmaker and investigative journalist, Jason Bermas.
Thanks so much, Clay. All right, folks. In a very short amount of time, we are going to try to go over transhumanism, the deep state, brain chips, NASA, and even the occult. So what are you looking at right here? You are looking at 4 different slides from the good people at the World Economic Forum that I know we all love, talking about when humans become cyborgs and things like swarm intelligence connected to one's brains for things like drone warfare. Real good stuff.
It's that the when humans become cyborg session. I always want to be a cyborg. I'm waiting for the day to become one.
I won't be able to say much about this today, but this is a project that I'm really excited about. It's a partnership that we're developing with Airbus to think about collective swarm intelligence. And this is about flying brains, so trying to bioengineer the brain capabilities, for example, of insects. Why don't they smack into each other when they fly? How do they know which direction to take? And the interesting ethical, so I'm an ethicist, I should say, and long ago trained in neuroscience, but one of the interesting things about this technology is that it's an emergent intelligence. So it arguably is a fully autonomous intelligent system. So if you think about this technology one day being 1 million tiny insect-type drones that we release for surveillance, whether it's military surveillance or crop surveillance, what have you.
So she's telling you it's about military surveillance, and this technology, not really new. What you're looking at are slides from a document of 2001. It is written by a man named Dennis Bushnell. He is the chief scientist currently at NASA, and he has been since pre-Apollo back in the Gemini days. This document, again, from 2001, tells you what 2025 is going to be about. DARPA, ONI, CIA. Okay, this is a global warfare document, and they're telling you, welcome to the bots, borgs, and humans of 2025. In the bottom corner, you'll notice that it says, in based all cases upon existing data, trends, analysis, and technologies. No pixie dust. Here are 4 more slides. He talks about genomically designing and repairing the human species. And somehow, in 2001, they predicted that the bio-nano era would begin in 2020. Now, of course, that technology was around, but this is an era of humankind. Didn't billions of people begin with bio-nanotechnology in 2020 on the nose? Well, they did. They don't know how long this is going to last, but they want to get you into the virtual era, and that's going to go beyond transhumanism, as you're going to see, where they're going to say you can upload your consciousness into a matrix-like base, and really the metaverse is going to be the next step in that. Okay, here you have 2 more slides. They talk about smart dust, nanotags, co-opted insects. We just talked about that. Also very into the climate change, CO2, stabilization of the planet agenda. In fact, I have him on tape. Check out my last presentation where he talks about sustainability being a code word for your standard of living dropping and population control that they may institute Malthus 101. Okay, so one more of these slides right here. Notice they said to exploit CNN syndrome. Now this is pre-9/11. They learned a lot from the Gulf War in '93. They say capture and torture American citizens in living color on prime time, serious Psy-war, collateral damage exploitation. I'd suggest you watch my films on 9/11, Loose Change, Final Cut, and Fabled Enemies if you want to learn about CNN syndrome. Here, you can see that they are going to use on the bottom Trojan horse civilian systems to carry out their information, internet, and psychological warfare against you. Google anyone, started by In-Q-Tel, the CIA tax-funded arm that then really drives them into a partnership with NASA on AI and quantum computing. So we're going to meet Dennis, and you're going to find out that NASA is only about 20% space. Okay, that gives them 80% for things like sustainability and transhumanism.
Your position as chief scientist at NASA, is it concentrated on one discipline, or you seem to have a comprehensive?
As chief scientist, I'm responsible for a center which does 20% space exploration.
So only 20% space exploration. By 2018, they had already put brain chips in 200,000 people. We are not talking about cochlear implants. We are not talking about retinal implants. We are talking about human brain interfaces, and he praises Musk while he talks about it.
Humans are now becoming cyborgs. We have cochlear implants to hear, artificial retinas to see, artificial hearts to live, artificial limbs to move, artificial organs to function, and brain chips. There's a couple 100,000 people wandering around with brain chips now to fix congenitally defective brains and increasingly to fix memory and other things. DARPA's working on brain chips for super soldiers. And people are now working, thanks to Musk and other people, funding on direct machine-brain communications. It's not us versus them, us versus the machines. We're merging. And this is the human evolution of the humans. There is no more natural evolution of anything. People are convinced that the human evolution of everything is 10 million times faster than any natural evolution. And so this is just part of the human evolution.
So evolution is over, they've taken charge, and we don't have a choice. A lot of us didn't even know about it. Here is his paper from 2020. As I said, he is still in charge. Disruptive technologies and their putative impacts upon society and the aerospace entering the virtual age. This is where he tells you automation is coming in. Robots are coming in. And by the way, they have code words for these things. Sustainability is the code word for population control, and productivity is the code word for where they're taking us. And by the way, guys, this is the best we can hope for. Uploading into the machines and human-contaminated machines at the end. But don't take my word for it.
This all ends up with uploading into the machines, and instead of us versus them, humans versus the machines, we become them, or they become us, or you end up with human-contaminated machines.
That's what I want to be, right? I totally want to lose my humanity into that. Now, Musk is very much a part of it. Kash Patel, a speaker here, he revealed the #1 defense contractor in the country is Elon Musk. He is currently using his SpaceX program to arm the Ukrainians via Starlink. They have over 12,000 Starlinks over there. And as you can see, his net worth was raised 600% during COVID 1984. He did better than Gates. He did better than Buffett. He did better than Brin. Does that sound like your ally? And he's about to announce his new robot that we're all going to be blown away by that happens to look like a human on World AI Day this September 30th. Again, not your friend. He moves military cargo. We talked about Starlink. DARPA's Starlink is blackjack. It is their weaponized space system. Reagan had a space warfare program going back to '83, the Strategic Defense Initiative Program, or Star Wars. We are far, far beyond that. Here he is telling you, again, that automation is coming and we've got a code word for it.
Plus the ongoing biorevolutions, genomics and synthetic biology that proffers the very real possibility of designer life forms, including humanoids, capable of thriving in whatever mess we make of the planet. In terms of employment, just as an example, we are in a jobless economic recovery. There's about 7 million jobs missing. Some of them were globalized and offshore, about a third. The rest of them are gone. The code word is productivity improvement, which is a code word for ever better automation and robotization. The machines are taking the jobs, and the humans increasingly can't compete. We're also becoming cyborgs, okay? We have...
we'll just skip that one right there. And again, that Trojan horse civilian system I was talking about, Google partnered with NASA almost a decade ago. These systems are running on AI, and hopefully we'll be getting to the AI psyop of the Google employee blowing the whistle. They have sentient AI. That's when we get to the occult angle. He just happens to be in the occult as well. Total lie. You will never be able to upload your quote-unquote consciousness, spirit, or soul. These people are demons. The metaverse. This is where they're going to trick your kids into a virtual world where they will want to be most of the time, and they have already partnered with the World Economic Forum for this. Now, they used to have somebody in a headset. I often joke about the fact that, well, it's not really a joke, the transgender movement is really a movement for transhumanism. They want to take away your biology. You should have known that when they started talking about non-binary, zeros, and ones. And I joke about the fact that you're going to be able to, I don't know, identify as a unicorn, but there it is, right there on the cover page. They just changed it today. I'm not joking. They're going to tell you you can transcend your body and fluidly change into anything. Look into Ray Kurzweil, the age of spiritual machines, and, of course, the singularity. Okay. This man, Eisenhower. A lot of people remember the military-industrial complex speech he gave. Now, I got about a 1.5-minute clip here, and I think it's important because he talks about a scientific elite, and he also talks about how this is a spiritual battle, which we'll get into in a moment.
Whether foreign or domestic, great or small, there is a recurring temptation to feel that some spectacular and costly action could become the miraculous solution to all current difficulties. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. For every old blackboard, there are now hundreds of new electronic computers. The prospect of domination of the nation's scholars by federal employment, project allocations, and the power of money is ever present and is gravely to be regarded. Yet in holding scientific research and discovery in respect, as we should, we must also be alert to the equal and opposite danger that public policy could itself become the captive of a scientific, technological elite.
Trust the science, everybody. We didn't see that in the last couple of years, right? Great warning. Now, what you're looking at is my collection of the Bohemian Grove annals. Now, for those of you, I'm sure you know what the Bohemian Grove is. A lot of Christian conservatives supposedly are there. They just had their meeting, zero media coverage. But I believe that Eisenhower himself, warned against that spirituality because he spoke there. And as far as politics and the military-industrial complex, well, the Manhattan Project was hatched there, and that is the modern modus operandi of compartmentalization that these programs utilize. So here, you're going to find that out.
To the degree that there's anything important happens at the Bohemian Grove, it's political. The important speeches that have been made at the Bohemian Grove have been made, for instance, and the best example, by Richard Nixon. Eisenhower gave a speech there. It was the first time the West Coast establishment really saw him close up.
Discussions at the Grove in the 1930s helped lead to the development of nuclear power and the atomic bomb.
So, as I said, there is a spiritual aspect to this. This is George Bromley. He was their high priest. And here he describes the cremation of care, the playing of the Dead March, the casket containing care or your consciousness, which they sacrifice every single year. And it is not just the owl god. They have Buddha jinx, Druid jinx, Aztec jinx. There is an occultic angle to this, okay? It is spiritual. And now you find out again, this AI whistleblower is into the occult as well.
While in prison, I had plenty of time for spiritual reflection and studies. Actually got more deeply into formal mysticism. A good friend of mine to this day, who I met in prison, is a Thelemite. And he introduced me to the works of Crowley and Kabbalism, and that added a little bit more structure and formality to the kind of more chaos magic style stuff that I've been doing up until that point.
So chaos magic and Crowley, do as thou wilt. My time is up. I hope you check out all my documentary films. They are free of charge. Fabled Enemies, Loose Change Final Cut, Shade the Motion Picture, and Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined. Thank you guys so much, and thank you, Clay Clark.
One more time, where can people find your work? One more time, what's the best place for people right now taking notes? Where can they find your work?
So I'm banned on YouTube a lot. I get in there a bit, but rockfin.com, ROKFIN.com/Jason Bermas, BERMAS. All my documentary films, again, free, pinned to the top. Please watch them and share them with your friends and family.
One more time, let's hear for Jason Bermas, everybody. Yes.